Hello. Hello, everybody. How's it going? We're going to be doing something kind of fun, kind of different than usual today. Today, we're going to be recording TikToks. We're going to be recording TikToks live. And it should be a very interesting experience. We've got a few things going on differently than usual. Basically, the TikToks have to be recorded with the audio, this microphone, set to a gain level of 52%. The live streams for the audio to sound right have to be recorded with a gain set to about 75 to 100%. So we've got two microphones, two of the exact same microphones set up right now. The mic is quiet. Is the mic louder now? Let me know if the mic is louder now. Did it get any louder, or does it sound the same? That sounds a bit louder on my end. I've got a massive delay. So I'll hear myself talk right here, and then I hear myself on the recording about 3 seconds, 5 seconds delayed. It's very strange. So I think it is a bit louder now. And then this mic is set softer. I won't be able to do that. The delay is too intense. Alrighty. Still a little quiet. What about now? Is it louder now? Does it sound better now? I just moved the mic closer to my mouth. That should be, that should be as loud as it can get, really, realistically. All right, it sounds like that. People are saying that sounds better now. So, let's talk about how I record these TikToks. So, the process is a little complicated at this point because I'm live streaming it. We've got this camera right here that I'm live streaming on. I'm going to show you what I'm looking at right now, if I can. Hopefully the cords aren't too crazy. So here we've got this whole setup. We've got the microphones, the lights, and then we've got a camera. Gosh, that light is being annoying. We've got another camera back there. You can hardly see it because how bright that one light is. So we've got a camera there that's recording me. You can't really see. Basically, we've got two cameras, two microphones set up right now to do this. And it makes it a pain in the butt. But hopefully it gives you all kind of a look at how I record the TikToks. I've always thought that'd be cool to show you all. So this mic is for the live stream that you are all part of right now as we speak. And then this microphone is for the TikToks. So I'm going to go ahead and open up GarageBand. And I'm going to open up GarageBand. And I'm going to start the audio recording on here. Pop, pop, pop. Okay. So I'm seeing the lines are coming in. So we're recording now on GarageBand my audio tracks. And now I'm going to turn on the camera. And we will then have... Okay. We will then have the live stream going with the good high quality audio and the TikToks filming over there with this mic recording solely for TikToks at a very different audio level. Or at least that's what's supposed to be happening. This is my first time trying this out, so we'll see how it actually ends up. Let me turn on the camera now. Alrighty. So that camera, the TikTok camera, the high quality camera that you all know and love, it's recording. I just got an update that there's lag. Is there terrible lag for you all? It just told me that there's a lot of lag. I don't know. Anyways. That camera filming this one live stream. Here we go. We're going to hop into the TikTok recording process. So usually I just kind of sit down and record these things cold. I usually have some ideas of players that I want to talk about on TikTok. If I've seen some videos recently about a player and I'm like, I really disagree with that, or I really agree with that, then I decide to make a video on it. So I'm going to make a video, probably a few videos actually, about DeAndre Swift right now. That's a player that I posted a video last night on TikTok, like making fun of people who love Antonio Gibson and hate DeAndre Swift, because I thought it was a little funny that, in my opinion, those situations are pretty comparable. And Swift, because he's on the Lions, a lot of people kind of hate it. So someone says it pauses a little bit. Give me 1 second. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not really sure how to fix that. Okay, I lowered the bit rate on my streaming thing. That should help it. Ooh, I just got a warning. Yeah, we'll be doing a new podcast tomorrow. If you've got questions that you want answered, throw them down there, and I will answer them for TikTok. All right, the stream should be a little better now. It says my connection is good, which has minor issues. It was excellent a bit ago. It's down to good. I don't know what happened. We're just going to go with it. Alrighty. So here I go. Here's TikTok number 1. It's going to be about DeAndre Swift, and there might be like 3 attempts with me messing up wording. But here we go. This is kind of awkward feeling. Tell me how you love Antonio Gibson in the first round, and then you're... Explain to me how you're drafting Antonio Gibson in the first, second round, and then staying away from DeAndre Swift in the third round. It makes no sense to me. Look, the Detroit Lions offensive line is pretty darn good at this point, and Swift is arguably the most talented running back from last year's draft class. With Jared Goff at the helm, he will pepper the running back position with targets, just like he did with Todd Gurley in LA. And for those of you worried about Jamal Williams, just think about how great Aaron Jones was. And if you're worried about, and you shouldn't really be worried about Jamal Williams, Aaron Jones was fine for fantasy with Jamal Williams behind him. Heck, Aaron Jones had A.J. Brown. Aaron Jones had A.J. A.J. I can't talk right now. Okay. All right, let me start this one over again. Let me get the hair right. Oh, gosh. All right. How are you drafting DeAndre? Nah! How are you drafting? Oh, my gosh. Okay. How are you drafting Antonio Gibson in the first round and then skipping out on DeAndre Swift in the third? It makes no sense. A lot of people are going to say that the Detroit Lions are going to be bad, and they will be. But that means DeAndre Swift as the only weapon will... A lot of people are worried that Detroit will just be a bad team, and they will be. But DeAndre Swift is one of the only weapons on this offense. He will see a ton of volume. Reports are saying that his workload will double. Jared Goff is a downgrade from Matthew Stafford, yes, but there's one thing Jared Goff does, and that is pepper the running back position with targets. Look what he did with Todd Gurley on the Rams. Okay. We're doing well so far. Doing well on this take so far. Now, I'm not saying that DeAndre Swift will be as good as Antonio Gibson, but given the difference in the price, drafting DeAndre Swift is a no-brainer. And also, I do think he will score more points than Antonio Gibson, yes. But I still do love Antonio Gibson. That post I made was not a knock on Gibson. It was more a, how are you missing DeAndre Swift? How are you blind to DeAndre Swift's screaming value? All right, so that is one TikTok down. I usually record about 45 TikToks in a row, which is painful. The first 5 are usually rough, like that one was, and then I kind of get into the groove of it, and then the next 35 to 40 are perfectly smooth. I do them all in one take, one saying, one breath, and then I usually go back and re-record the first 3 videos, like the DeAndre Swift one. At the end of this, I'll probably go back and re-record this. So that is how I do the TikToks. But now what I'm going to do is a little different. This is where the majority of my TikTok videos come from. And I'm going to sit down and do a full-on podcast. It'll be about 20 to 30 minutes long, or until my computer battery runs out. And then you'll see that camera is recording the whole thing, the whole entire thing, and I will chop up pieces of it throughout the week and post TikToks galore from this. So you're going to see the official raw podcast, no editing, nothing done. Which stay as long as you'd like. It might get painful, but usually these are pretty fun to record. So the topic of this podcast is going to be how I was blind to 2 or 3 players. So roll intro music. Bum, 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 ba-da-ba-dum, ba-da-ba-dun-dun-dun. Welcome to the Prophet Podcast with your host. I was blind. How was I so blind this entire offseason to these players? I'm so ashamed of myself because there's some players that are screaming values, that are everything I look for in players in fantasy football. And for some reason, I just haven't seen them. I've been blind to them. And I'm going to say these players, and some of you will say, yeah, that makes sense. And then there's one that a lot of people don't like at all. But, well, we'll just spoil it right now. The player that no one likes, that I am about to talk about in this podcast, is possibly the best value pick at the wide receiver or at the quarterback position I have ever seen. He's a rushing quarterback, a quarterback who will run, a quarterback who will get you passing yards and rushing yards. And the name, don't laugh at me, is Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill will lead your fantasy team to glory. I'm not joking about this one. And I've been a big advocate of Jalen Hurts all offseason. Actually, most of last season, I was big on Jalen Hurts because of the rushing ability. And we saw it didn't really matter how good he was in real life. As long as he was running the ball and rushing touchdowns, he provided great fantasy value. And so I entered this season extremely high on Jalen Hurts. But there's someone similar to Jalen Hurts in terms of play style and in terms of they had some great fantasy weeks with a ton of production, and it's Taysom Hill. And for some reason, people laugh at that. No one is drafting Taysom Hill in fantasy football. But Week 11 got the start, 24 fantasy points. Week 12 against Denver, 17 points. Against Atlanta, 23 points. Week 14 against Philly, 18 points. He had some really, really solid weeks in fantasy football. And no one really capitalized on it because he's almost a joke at this point. He's a tight end quarterback hybrid. Who wants that as their starting quarterback? But as long as he's running the ball, he will score. And it's very rare a quarterback's wide receiver one getting injured makes me higher on the quarterback. But in this specific case, it does. With Michael Thomas gone, Taysom Hill is going to run wild. And this is all presuming he wins the starting job, which I believe he will at this point, given what reports are out of camp. But when he was starting, he finished as the number 4 quarterback, number 11 quarterback, number 8 quarterback, and number 11 quarterbacks. He provided you QB1 numbers every single week he started. And he is being drafted ridiculously low. I mean, in some leagues, he's not really drafted. Let me get his exact ADP pulled up. 1912, the last pick of the 19th round. He's going undrafted in most leagues. He's the last quarterback taken. And he will way more than return that value. He's the number one name that I think after week one, on the waiver wire pickups podcast, everyone will be saying, go pick up Taysom Hill. Just like, remember Cam Newton last year, where Cam Newton came out, week 1, and he scored 25 points, week 2, 36 points. I mean, he put up some really great games last year, and it will be similar with Taysom Hill. So Taysom Hill, I don't know how I missed it, because it's what I look for in quarterbacks in fantasy. People not hyping them up, a lot of rushing opportunities, a lot of rushing touchdowns, and it's Taysom Hill. So Jalen Hurts, still all in on him, still super high on Hurts. That is if they don't bring in Deshaun Watson. But Taysom Hill is an even cheaper player to buy in your fantasy drafts, and he might perform comparably. So Taysom Hill, draft him with the last pick of your draft, and you won't regret it. If he's garbage, drop him. You didn't waste anything. So there are my thoughts on Taysom Hill. Didn't think we'd be here right now talking about this. Now the next player that I was blind on, I missed him. I just didn't really think of very much, is DeAndre Swift of the Detroit Lions. He started off with a rocky season. He was hurt. He had a drop touchdown. But then he started playing really darn well. Against New Orleans, 13 points. Against Jacksonville, 25 points. 8.3 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. Came back 11 points. Against Washington, a very tough run defense, 23.4 points. 5.1 yards on the ground per attempt. He was a darn good running back. Taking out 3 weeks he was banged up, or 6 weeks he was banged up because he got the concussions at the end of the season, he still finished as a top 24 running back. He finished as the 18th running back in total. He's being drafted far later than where he finished. He's being drafted middle end of third round. I just picked him up with one of the last picks of the third round in a recent fantasy draft I did. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely a shame that he is being drafted that low. Antonio Gibson is going before him. J.K. Dobbins is going before him. And I'm going to speak for Antonio Gibson mostly right here. What is the massive difference? What is the massive difference? Why is TikTok all in on Antonio Gibson being a top 10 running back? Just completely, he's the man. And this is funny coming from me because I was the only one who knew of him last July on that app. I was the only one advocating him. And now everyone's all in, and I'm saying, hey guys, I'm not saying to back off on Gibson, but there are other players who are going to be great. And I posted this video. I was like making fun of people who say they love Antonio Gibson on the Washington football team and they're staying away from Swift on the Lions. And I was making fun of that, and people said rare miss from the Prophet. And I didn't really understand because I looked up Pro Football Focus. They've got the Lions, they've got their offensive line ranked above Washington football team. I looked up 3 other sources. All of them had the Lions offensive line ranked above the Washington football team. So then I go to, what is the next concern? What is the next concern? Jamal Williams? Is that the reason we're fading DeAndre Swift in the middle of the 3rd round? That can't be. Aaron Jones dominated with Jamal Williams in that backfield as well. Jamal Williams is nothing more than a relief back. They've got faith in Swift. They said his workload is probably going to double. They haven't brought in Todd Gurley like I was expecting early on. They've got faith in Swift. So I don't think that's the reason that we're fading him. So what is the reason? Is it because Jared Goff is a massive downgrade from Matthew Stafford? That makes sense. He's not as good as Stafford. But wait, who supported Todd Gurley all those targets for all those years? Who was the one who checked it down to him almost every play? That was Jared Goff. Who's the one who peppered Cam Akers and Henderson last year with targets? That was Jared Goff. If there's one thing we've seen Jared Goff does well, it's drop it off to the running back. He's going to fall in love with DeAndre Swift. He had some rough games last year as a receiver, but overall, he's a fantastic receiving running back. He can make people miss in the open field. He can juke linebackers. He is a great receiving running back. So why are we fading Swift while we're still in love with Gibson? One word: recency bias. Recency bias is the reason. The Washington football team, for a long time, has been considered a gross team. They have been considered gross. People stay away from their players for the sole reason of it's the Washington football team. Last year, Terry McLaurin does well. Antonio Gibson has a great season. And they get a little hype. They make the playoffs. And suddenly, they're no longer a gross team. I don't like Fitzpatrick as much as Jared Goff. He's not as good. Maybe he'll have some hot streaks, but overall, give me Jared Goff. But because they had that little better of a season, they're no longer a gross team. People aren't staying away. There's not that name recognition that makes fantasy players say, ew. But with the Lions, that's still there. So we're capitalizing off of the recency bias of some of these bad teams. And because the Lions, they didn't have anyone really fantasy relevant. Golladay basically sat out. Swift is seen as a player on a gross team. And that is something I love. You all know I loved Leonard Fournette. I loved basically whoever was the running back for the Jaguars in recent years because they get a ton of volume, and so many people stay away because they're the Jaguars running back, and that's gross. And once again, I'm all in on that. Capitalize on people being scared of the team. DeAndre Swift, let's face it, incredibly talented running back, both as a pass catcher and a runner. He's great on the goal line too. He's got a quarterback who will pepper him with targets. He'll see volume out of necessity. Even if Jamal Williams takes some carries, he will see volume because there is a simple lack of weapons. And he's running behind a great offensive line. So, Antonio Gibson or DeAndre Swift, the answer is both. That's what I was going for in that video. They're being drafted different places usually. If I had to choose one right now, though, I'm leaning Swift. I love both of them. But if I had to choose right now, it's the guy who has the best chance to be the focal point of the offense. And that's Swift. He has a chance to be the main focal point of the Detroit Lions offense. Alrighty, moving on. Who else shall we talk about? Who else was I blind to see? Who else did I just miss in my preseason predictions so far? Who have I just glossed over? I'll tell you who. CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a fantastic wide receiver. Last year, he was great. He was a fantastic player. He was the number Can't even find it. Well, he almost had 1,000 yards last season in a terrible situation. He lost his starting quarterback, Dak Prescott, and then saw a quarterback carousel of Ben DiNucci, Andy Dalton. It was ugly. But despite that, as a rookie, competing with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb saw 935 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. He is the next breakout sophomore wide receiver. My money's on him. And I don't really know why I haven't brought him up much, but I'm doing it now before the hype gets there, because Hard Knocks is going to air and CeeDee Lamb's ADP is going to go. He's being drafted mid-5th, 6th round right now. That's not going to happen. I'm getting major Chris Godwin vibes right now from a few years ago. He showed the explosiveness. He showed us all we need. He had week 4, 20 points. Week 16, 20 points. The rest was inconsistent, as it should have been. A rookie competing for receptions with 2 great wide receivers with a terrible quarterback. But he showed me enough. He showed me enough to believe that he's the next breakout wide receiver. I love CeeDee Lamb. He's fast. He's talented. He's everything you want from your breakout. He can do it all. And right now, there are enough people like me up to a few days ago who are more just kind of worried, Amari Cooper's there, Michael Gallup's there, and I didn't feel comfortable with him. But now I do. I went back, I watched all of his catches on NFL Game Pass, and it's just the talent will rise to the top. Dak Prescott, he's going to be less mobile than he was in the past. He's going to be throwing a lot, guys. He's going to be throwing a lot. And CeeDee Lamb is going to slowly, it might not even be that slowly, take over as the main receiving option in Dallas. And he will have a fantastic season. And next year, right now, we'll be talking, who's that guy who's going to be, breaking into the top 5? And CeeDee Lamb's going to be the top 5 pick. He will be. He's that good. He's on a high-powered offense, a pass-heavy offense. CeeDee Lamb is the future of fantasy football breakout wide receivers. Buy him now if you're in any sort of dynasty, keeper league, or drafting right now. Buy him before Hard Knocks airs, because his ADP will skyrocket. I also want to quickly address a few things that I have been seeing on TikTok. I have been seeing a lot of Ezekiel Elliott hate, and I mean a lot of Ezekiel Elliott hate. And I just want to say something. I just want to clear the air. These are his finishes before Dak Prescott got injured. 26 points, 19 points, 14 points, 16 points, and 23 points. 96 yards and a touchdown, 89 yards and a touchdown, 34 yards touchdown, but 11 targets and 6 receptions in that game too. Not quite as good, but still solid. Week 5 against the Giants, number 2 running back overall that week. 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. But no, Tony Pollard is going to overtake this running back who they're paying $100 million. He's going to overtake him because he had 2 good weeks at the end of the season when Zeke wasn't really playing much, because why would they play their star $100 million running back when they're eliminated from... You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. The Tony Pollard hype is the most ridiculous garbage and stupidest narrative I have seen in fantasy football in a long time. He's not as good as Ezekiel Elliott. He's just not. Even if in some bizarre alternate reality he were, the Dallas Cowboys still love Zeke. They still are paying him a ton of money to be their lead back. And that's not going to change because Tony Pollard exploded against a banged-up San Francisco defense in Week 15. It's not changing anytime soon. So if you're in a league where these people are saying, oh, Zeke, this is the end of the Ezekiel. No, it's not. Capitalize on that. Draft him at the end of the first round, because we're going to look back in 2 months and be laughing at that ADP. We're going to say, my gosh, how were we so stupid to think that Ezekiel Elliott was dead? It makes no sense to me. You're so excited about Tony Pollard, how he exploded at end of last. Then why did Zeke come back the last 2 weeks and finish better than he did? Why? If they saw this breakout against San Francisco when Zeke was out with the ankle injury, they saw this Tony Pollard breakout. Why did he come back the next 2 weeks and lead the team in rushing yards? Why? It doesn't make sense, because they're not handing the keys over to Tony Pollard. He's a relief back. He's a handcuff. He's a change of pace guy, and he's good at what he does, but he's not Ezekiel Elliott, okay? If you're drafting or if you're in a league that already drafted, grab Zeke before Hard Knocks airs, because as soon as that show gets on, people will start changing the narrative about Ezekiel Elliott. Just watch. I promise you. I bet you $5, all of you, $5, that as soon as Hard Knocks starts airing, the narrative on Zeke being washed disappears. It will disappear, because people will see, oh, he's still a great running back, and they'll feel kind of stupid about it. There's another thing I want to discuss. Oh yeah, he's only 26 years old. That's like the peak breakout year for running backs in fantasy. He's not that old. I feel like people think he's like 40. He's 26. Gosh. Okay. Next thing I want to discuss. I saw a TikTok today. I'm not going to name any names. Someone's saying the Bengals were only going to win 2 games this season. I'm getting fed up with TikTok. It's so annoying sometimes. 2 games? Let me just check one thing right now. Bengals 2020 record. They won 4 games. So you think they're going to win half the games they did last year, even though Joe Burrow is back from his ACL tear, and they drafted Jamar Chase, and they have helped the offensive line. Maybe not as much as people wanted, but it's better. And Joe Mixon back from injury, Jamar Chase back from injury, or Jamar Chase drafted, and Joe Burrow back from injury, and you think they win half the games they did last year. 2 wins. Are you out of your mind? I understand bold predictions, going against the grain. You gotta get the TikTok comments flowing in to boost the algorithm. I understand. But at some point, you cross the line between bold take and you have a stupid take that's dumb. And here's what frustrates me. Bold takes have become an excuse to say outrageous stuff with no consequences. Your bold take comes to fruition. You're a genius. It doesn't happen. Bengals win 10 games, win this, whatever. And you say, oh, it's a bold take. It was made. You gotta. I've never seen anyone make some sort of bold take like that, and then at the end of the season say, wow, look how stupid this was of me. They say, oh, that was a bold take. It doesn't matter. On to the next season. So it makes me annoyed when I see people doing this. Maybe I'm some sort of old Karen. I don't know. But I don't think the guy who made this video knows football. He does. And the fact that he's saying the Bengals win 2 games makes me believe that he's just trying for views at that point. I mean, if that's your goal, just to say outrageous stuff to get views and boost the TikTok algorithm, it's easy to do that. Watch, I'll do like 2 TikToks right now, just to show that these videos do better with the algorithm. Watch this. Here we go. Let me find a player that everyone loves, and that I believe will do well, and I'll make a bold take. Bold take: Derrick Henry will not finish as a top 10 running back this year in fantasy football. Okay. With the addition of Julio Jones, the Tennessee Titans will be much more of an air raid offense. Derrick Henry won't see the volume he's used to, and without 30 touches a game, his fantasy points will flounder. I don't even know if flounder is a real word. I don't know. Moreover, running backs his age with as much mileage do not stay healthy. Derrick Henry is in for some injuries. Predicting him to play a full season with the volume he had last year is a no-go. He will bust on your team, and you will lose your league because you drafted Derrick Henry this year. All right, there we go. There is a bold take. I hope you liked it. I'll post that. It will probably get double the views of most of my videos. There's some truth to it, but it's ridiculous. We all know it. Let's do another. They're kind of fun. Who's another player that people are passionate about? Oh, I know who people are passionate about. People are like so passionate about defending what's his name? DK Metcalf. See, I love DK. I think he's going to have a great season. Watch this. Tyler Lockett is still the number 1 wide receiver in Seattle, and for you to draft DK Metcalf with the idea that he will overtake Lockett is a stupid mistake that will wreck your fantasy season in 2021. DK is a jump ball receiver who will only have big plays this year, and with Russell Wilson coming to the end of his prime, I'd much rather take the safe bet with Lockett or draft Chris Carson instead, because you really shouldn't be drafting a wide receiver that early. This is actually kind of... Okay, maybe I'm changing my mind. I see this as kind of fun, especially when I see how many comments these are going to get. I'll post these and then instantly post the thing about bold takes so people don't unfollow. But yeah, it's easy to do this stuff. Odell Beckham Jr., I know he's gotten injured the past 6 years, but he's still elite. Like, you can just say any of this stuff and have no sort of negative consequences because you say it July and then you call it a bold prediction and no one comes back. It just annoys me. Bengals, I will give free money to everyone if they win 2 games this year. Only 2 games. That I'm so positive. Another player that I've been sort of blind on. We're just kind of all over the place right now. This is what happens when I record these things late at night. But another player that I'm pretty darn high on is Tua. I think Tua is going to have a good season. He's also being undrafted in the majority of fantasy leagues, so there's no risk whatsoever. He had like 1 good game last year in terms of fantasy against Kansas City. 31 fantasy points. But I think he has a good year. Myles Gaskin is a great safety net for him. That's a great way for him to get some quick yards. Jalen Waddle, the speedster, he's going to help this offense tremendously. He's still got Gesicki. I think that Tua finishes much higher than he's being drafted. He's being drafted as if he will get benched halfway through the season. And I don't think that happens. I think he is massively improved. And because of how cheap he is, he's one of like my biggest breakout players. Not because I think he's going to have a ton of points. I'm not saying he's going to be top 10. But if you want to not draft a quarterback and just pick one up after the draft and you pick up Tua, I think he will provide you safe low-end QB1 numbers the majority of the season. So Tua, he also gets a ton of hate. Some of it justified. Like, he didn't look fantastic last year. I understand that. But I think he's better than people are giving him credit for. This expectation that rookie quarterbacks just come out and are amazing is ridiculous. And he's got some nice games. He's got a game against the Falcons, so you can start him then. He's got one against the Jets. He plays the Panthers, the Giants, plays the Jets again, and the Dolphins. He's going to have some very good games, and he'll be pretty solid. I think Tua is going to surprise a lot of people. Not as much as Taysom Hill, but those two, Taysom Hill and Tua. Man, if this does come true, Tua and Taysom Hill leading people to championships, I'm going to ride out this midnight podcast for the rest of my career. So also I wanted to speak very quickly on the whole COVID vaccine thing because, I don't know. I've been seeing people say, "Oh, do you think DeAndre Hopkins is going to retire because he doesn't want a COVID vaccine?" No, I don't. First off, let me frame this though. I think it would be hilarious if he did. like it would just I would find it very funny. But I think the COVID thing with them not wanting vaccines, I think this is being blown out of proportion. It's only a few players. I think they're going to get the vaccines, and if they don't, they're going to follow those guidelines for the unvaccinated players extremely strictly because they don't want to be fined and ostracized from their teams. So, no, I don't think that COVID-19 will be any factor in the NFL this year. I just don't really think that we're going to see players not playing, retiring early. There's a narrative that, there's going to be rifts in the locker rooms, these players teaming. No, I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't. So don't pay any mind to the media talking about Cole Beasley getting vaccinated because it just doesn't really matter for us, okay? At the end of the day, if he doesn't want to play, he doesn't want to play. If he doesn't want to get vaccinated, he doesn't want to get vaccinated, and he won't play. And that's his decision. I'm trying to stay out of that stuff because, well, it's none of our business, and it hasn't been players that have any fantasy implications, really. Like, if Cole Beasley isn't here in the fantasy season, I don't really care. Let him do his thing. Now, DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to retire. He has way too much to lose, way too much to give. It's not going to happen. And I don't think all these players are anti-vaccine. I think they're anti-not having the choice or having a massive penalty. I think most of these players would, most of them have gotten the vaccine, but I think a lot of them would get the vaccine, but when they're like forced to instead of given the choice to, I think that's when they complain. And I think it's that way with a lot of things. I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to take a shower. I wanted to be clean. Taking a shower wasn't an issue. Brushing my teeth wasn't an issue. But as soon as my parents said you have to take a shower, suddenly it was like, no, I don't want to. I want to. Get me out of here. And I think it's that way with the vaccine. And I personally know people who were going to get the vaccine, and then the more that other people, media, pushed it and like incentivized it to a very high degree, the more they didn't want to get it because they felt like they weren't given a choice. And I got the vaccine. I had no problem doing that. But that's what I think is going on. I think they're just rebelling about not having the choice. And when push comes to shove, when the money is on the line, when playing for a championship is on the line, I think they'll suck it up and get the vaccine. And I don't think we'll have any actual issues. So that's my thoughts on the NFL vaccine situation. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe Hopkins and Cole Beasley will retire and start a farm in Nebraska and ride off into the sunset like some weird rom-com. I would be all for that, but that's just not something I think is really realistic. Oh, also, Alvin Kamara, draft him. He's going to see so many targets. He's going to get so many receptions. Just draft him. Don't question it. I've questioned him before, and I always regret it. He's just a player that I've stopped thinking about in terms of, will he do well? And it's just now to a point where, like, Alvin Kamara, draft him, set him in your lineup, start him, and don't think about it. Don't ever think about it because he can have bad situations. He can be hurt. He can have bad quarterbacks, and it might be tempting to think about it. Don't think about it. Just Alvin Kamara is a known commodity, just like McCaffrey, just like Tyreek Hill. He's one of those, and for some reason, he, more than most other known commodity players, gets thought of as like, what should I do with them? And he's unstoppable. He's an amazing player. And it's time that people really fully consider him that way. I don't get how people are higher on Saquon than Kamara right now. Doesn't really make sense to me. Well, those are my two cents worth on Alvin Kamara. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It was a little unstructured. I was live streaming at the same time, which was a new thing I'm doing. But I hope you liked it. I hope you thought it was informative. I hope it helps your fantasy teams. And at the end of the day, these are the podcasts I really like doing. We get into the season, and I'm forced into Monday is Weekly Rewind, Wednesday is Waiver Wire, stuff like that. But right now, late July, early August, I can just have the time to sit down and give you my thoughts about things in football and fantasy football. It was really fun. I feel like I really, you get to know me. I get to know you all in the comments, reading comments. So, yeah, thanks for listening. And I will see you next time. The podcasts, as you can tell, are getting more frequent now that we're getting closer to the actual season starting. So I'll see you next time, and thank you so much for listening. Alrighty, that is how I record a podcast, and that is how I make my TikToks. Filming the TikToks by themselves, it's harder for me. I talk best when I'm just going, and I find that the TikToks turn out best and sound natural and usually better ideas and opinions when I just take a 40-minute video of me talking and just chop it up into kind of highlights. So yeah, let me turn off the main camera real fast. Yeah, there we go. I hope you all liked it. It was fun to do. I'm a fan of the live stream aspect. I think it adds another aspect to the show, and I think it's fun. I think this season is going to be a lot of fun because I'm going to be doing a live stream every podcast. So I'm doing 3 podcasts a week, 3 live streams a week, and then all the TikToks. You know the drill. So yeah, I'll see you all next time. You're going to see a lot of that on TikTok tomorrow morning and throughout the week. All right, I'm going to end the stream now. Thanks for watching.